LeetCode problem number 70, climbing stairs. So this problem mimics us climbing a staircase where it takes n steps to reach the top. Each time we can either climb 1 or 2 steps. And the goal of this problem is to find out how many distinct ways we can climb to the top. Right, so for example, for when n is 2, meaning there's 2 steps, so there's 2 ways to climb to the top. Right? Either you take 1 step each, or you take one big 2 steps. Same goes for when there are 3 steps. We can either take 1 step each, 1 step plus 2 steps, and one big step plus 1 small step. So the way I solve this problem is to, instead of looking at it from the start, right? So let's say n were to be 5, for example. So instead of it looking at it from the start, let's say for step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know from step 1, you can either go to 2 or 3, right? Depending on how many steps you take, you can take 1 step, which will lead you to 2, and you can take 2 steps, which will lead you to 3. And then from there on, it basically branches out like a tree, where from 2 you can take 1 step or 2 steps again, and from 3 you can take 1 step, 2 steps again, right? So that could be one of the brute force way to do it, but the way I did it was I start to calculate from the back instead. So what you see here is, let's say n is 5. So let's say n is 5. So I'm looking at the last and the second last. So we know these two, when you reach the step 4 and 5, you will need to take only 1 step, right? From 4, you need to take 1 step to 5. And basically on 5, you basically reach the goal in a way, right? So we can make the last and the second last both values at 1, and then from I equals to 2, meaning we're iterating it n minus 2 times. So what we do here is, let's see. So remember that this was our last is 1, second last is 1 as well. So here our temp will become second last, right? Because what we are going to do is we're going to update the steps needed for this to add in the last step as well, right? So the second last in this case would be 2, and last we need to update to temp, which is already is 1. So now I equals to 3, it will increment to 3, meaning that we are now looking at this step, step 2. So again, our temp equals to second last. Second last will update with the last number, which is plus 1 is 3. And now last will become temp. So you can see that we are swapping around numbers. And I now equals to 4. So we do the same thing, temp equals to second last. Second last plus equals to last, which is 5. Will give us 5. And last will become temp. Increment one more time. Now that we have reached I, so this should be our last iterative loop. So temp equals to second last again. Second last plus equals to last, which is 5 plus 3 is 8. And last will equals to temp. And then lastly, we return second last, which is 8. Right. So if we were to double check this, So let's say we start from 0. We can take one step or two steps. Here we take another one step, two step, one step, two step, one step, two step, one step, two step. This is one step, two, and here we have another one step and two steps. So we went over 6. So we're not interested in that. Let's keep going anyways. 4, 5. This will be 5, 6, 5, 6. Over 5, 6. So, and lastly, of course, here we have another 5 and 6, right? So if you look at the amount of 5s here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ways. We have 8 methods to reach to step 5. So meaning that the algorithm works in a way, right? So to further explain again what I'm technically doing is, okay, let's say 5 steps, right? And if these two steps would take one step to reach to each other, right? Because meaning if you are on step 4, you will just need to take one more step to reach step 5. So that's what I meant. So on step 3, if you want to go to step 5 for instance, so you can either take one step or you can take two steps, right? And then from there, what you need to do is you have these two numbers, and when you add them up, you basically get the next, the basically the tree lah, right? So if you add this up, you get 3. You add this up, you get 5, and if you add this up, you get 8, right? From 0. So this was how I got the 8 from before, right? So this works when I is, let's say, 3 as well. So if this were to be 2, 1, 1, so if you add this up, this will become 2. If you add this up, it will become 3. So it's going to become, like, you don't need to add that, right? So we have the answer of 3 if n is 3, right? So basically that's the algorithm. Pretty straightforward. That's all I have to show.